It started with a look, the kind that slices through you before a word is even said. I had just stepped into the first-class boarding lane at Gate B12 in Portland International, holding a perfectly valid ticket for seat 1A. Nothing flashy, plain sneakers, clean jeans, a navy tee. My hair was tied back, my bag small and simple. I wasn't dressed to impress. I wasn't trying to. But apparently, just existing as a black woman in that space was already a problem. The lead flight attendant, a woman named Stephanie Whitlow, didn't even try to hide it. Her smile died the second she saw me. She crossed her arms and said flatly, "This line is for first class only." I nodded and handed her my pass. She didn't take it, just looked me up and down like I was some kind of con artist. "I said first class," she repeated, louder this time, already drawing eyes from nearby passengers. I held the boarding pass out again. "I know, that's me. Seat 1A. She snatched it with 2 fingers like it was dirty, glanced at it, then actually laughed. "This has to be fake. Did you find this in the trash?" People were starting to stare. My face burned. I stayed calm, outwardly. But inside, that slow old anger started creeping in, the kind that comes from 100 moments just like this, piled up over a lifetime. Another flight attendant, Brian, came over. Stephanie didn't explain. She just shoved the pass at him and said, "She's trying to board with a forged ticket." No evidence, no reason, just certainty. Brian smirked and radioed gate security like he'd just caught someone trying to hijack the plane. The words he used? "Suspicious boarding attempt. Passenger doesn't match the profile." Match the profile, right. I looked around. Some people looked away. Some pulled out their phones. But nobody said anything. Not yet. Then Stephanie turned to me and said, "I'm going to have to ask you to step aside. You're delaying real passengers." That's when something inside me cracked. Not snapped. Just shifted. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't scream. I just said, "I'd like my boarding pass returned. Now." A younger attendant, Claire, joined in, looking me up and down before saying, "No way you bought this seat dressed like that." She stuffed the pass in her uniform pocket. I stood there stunned, breath shallow, jaw tight. Claire turned away like I didn't exist. But then something shifted outside of me too. The gate agent, Luis, who had scanned my boarding pass when I first arrived, he stepped forward. "I checked her in," he said carefully. "That's a valid first-class ticket. I remember her." Stephanie didn't even look at him. "Then you made a mistake," she snapped. "She's not who she says she is." Luis opened his mouth, but before he could speak again, a voice behind me cut in, quiet but sharp. "I'm recording this." I turned slightly and saw a young Asian guy, camera in hand, already filming. Next to him, a redhead woman whispered, "This is disgusting." Stephanie froze for a second. Then she leaned into the performance. "Ma'am, you'll need to leave, or we'll call airport security." I stared at her. Then I slowly pulled my phone from my bag and tapped one name. "Hi, Michelle," I said, calm but clear. "Go ahead and activate Horizon Air's internal alert. Incident at Gate B12. Stephanie scoffed. "Oh, great. Now she's pretending to have connections. Lady, this isn't a game." But Michelle, my executive assistant, was already moving. On the line, she said, "It's done. Everyone's on standby. Just say when." Claire reached for my arm. "Either you leave, or we'll have you removed." That's when I turned fully to her and said, "Touch me again, and your badge won't scan for another flight ever again." Brian rolled his eyes and muttered, "Entitled people always pulling some imaginary rank." Louise stepped between us. "She's on the manifest. Her ID checked out. I saw it with my own eyes." Stephanie's response? "You want to risk your job over her?" He didn't flinch. "No, I'm protecting it by following protocol, something you seem to have forgotten." The moment was thick. People were watching. Phones were rolling. And just then, from the back of the line, a woman's voice rang out. "Let her board. She hasn't done anything. You're making fools of yourselves." I could feel it, the air shifting, the crowd leaning toward truth. Still, Stephanie tried one more time. "Prove who you are," she said. "Show us the card you bought this with." So I did. Pulled out my Horizon Air black executive card, turned it toward her and said, "Would you prefer the one with my name or the one with the boards?" That's when her face changed. Just a flicker. Confusion, then something deeper. I added, "You just violated your employer's anti-bias policy, and I know that because I wrote it." She blinked. "You what?" Michelle's voice came through my phone speaker now. "Legal has been notified. Protocol escalated. We're ready." The cabin had gone still. Claire, who'd been smug a minute ago, now looked like she'd swallowed her tongue. Brian took a step back. "And Luis?" He stepped forward and said, "That's enough. This is our CEO. You've made a mistake that's about to cost you everything." I didn't need to say a word after that. Emma, the woman behind the camera, stood up. "I've got footage. 5 minutes of it. If you think this ends quietly, think again." Another passenger in 2A stood and added, "She never raised her voice, never cursed. And you all tried to drag her out like she was a criminal." Stephanie still clung to the illusion of control. "I'm the lead here. I make the calls." "No," I said, "not anymore." Then I turned back to Michelle. "Initiate full termination review for Stephanie Whitlow, Brian Kendrick, and Claire Monroe, effective immediately." Stephanie opened her mouth like she was going to argue, but nothing came out. Claire looked down at her shoes. Brian muttered something about just following orders, but nobody was listening anymore. Louise nodded, eyes steady. "I'll walk them off myself." Before they left, Stephanie hissed at me, "You think this makes you better than us?" I tilted my head. "No, it proves I was never beneath you." They were escorted off the flight in silence. Not a single passenger looked away. Some applauded quietly. Others just nodded in grim recognition. Later, I found out Claire had sent an anonymous apology letter. Said she hadn't realized how much bias she'd absorbed until it was held up in front of her face. Said she'd remember my words forever. "You didn't just obey, you volunteered." And Brian? He resigned quietly 2 days later. HR never even had to call. Stephanie fought it. She screamed, threatened legal action. But when the internal audit surfaced her prior complaints, passenger profiling, false denials, her license was pulled. Not just from Horizon, from the entire industry. An investigation followed. Quiet, but deep. And from her own angry rant, Stephanie had revealed more than she realized. Unspoken directives, coded language from regional management. We found it. We exposed it. And those names didn't keep their jobs either. Luis? He got promoted. He now heads our passenger equity office. And the vlogger who recorded it all? He never posted the footage, but he sent it to us to use as training. 3 months later, I walked through that same gate, same terminal. This time, in a navy blazer, name badge on full display. No one questioned me. No one stared. Because the crew had changed. The culture had changed.
And seat 1A?
Still mine. But now, it belongs to anyone who was ever told they didn't belong. Anyone who had to prove they were worthy just to take a seat they already paid for. So no, I didn't raise my voice, but I raised the bar. And sometimes, that's louder than anything you can shout.